Have you heard the phrase that is the root of all evils? Never get into debt. That is slavery, and that is true to a certain extent because when you're drowning in debt, your life is over. While you're trying to pay your debts are not waiting for you. They're growing day by day. Since no one lends money for free, there is always an interest. Despite all of this, the United States has embraced that total. U.S. consumer debt is almost $15 trillion, which brings the average household debt to over $5,300. The U.S. GDP is a little over $21 trillion, which means the entire economy consists of that. But I have some good news for you. That isn't always bad. That is an unpopular opinion because most of the debt we have is bad debt. You probably have some credit card debts, a car loan, and maybe a student debt, and you're thinking, it will take me decades to pay off all of these debts. How on earth can that be something good? In order to understand how that can be something positive, let's take a look at how people with deep pockets still use that to make even more money. It might sound a bit confusing because why would anyone with a lot of money use debts in the first place? That is supposed to be used by people who do not have money. But that's not how capitalism works. That is a powerful tool if you know how to use it. And in this video, you will find out how rich people use that to make even more money. Number 1. Borrowing trade often revolves around a simple concept: borrowing money to start a business. While this idea might be seen as controversial, starting a business by taking a loan, I, personally, wouldn't choose this path. However, for some businesses, especially the more traditional ones, it can be the best option. Let's take the example of selling pens. Pens are a common product, and there's usually a constant demand for them. In the past, the process might involve flying to China, locating a factory that produces quality pens at the right price, buying a container of pens, shipping them to the US, and distributing them. Nowadays, much of this is done online through platforms like Alibaba, unless it's a more complex product that requires a personal visit to the factory. The interesting part is that in many cases, you don't have to pay for the products up front. Over the last 50 years, China has become the world's factory, producing a vast array of goods. Many factories operate around the clock to meet global demand. To make their products more accessible, these factories are often willing to lend their products, expecting payment sometime in the future. Of course, they won't just lend to anyone. You need to build trust with them first. This business model has been running successfully for decades. Once a client sells the product in the US or elsewhere, they then pay the factory and borrow more products. The essence of this approach is telling the factory, "You're excellent at making this product. Let me help you sell it. If I can sell it for a price higher than what it costs me, that difference is my profit." What makes this strategy attractive is that it doesn't tie up your own money initially. It emphasizes that selling is a crucial skill to master in this scenario. Number 2. Refinancing real estate debts is like finding shortcuts in a game. You see, if you don't have a mortgage, you end up paying more in taxes. The big shots, the rich folks, they like having lots of mortgages. Why? Because it helps them avoid paying a bunch in taxes. Here's the trick. Every dollar you save from paying taxes is like earning an extra dollar. That's how rich folks keep getting richer. But let's break it down in simpler terms. How rich people get even richer in real estate. Imagine you've got $200,000 saved up. Sounds like a lot, right? But in the world of real estate, it's not enough to buy a house outright. So, you go to a bank, and they tell you that with that money, you can get a loan for up to $800,000. But let's say you find a house that's worth $500,000, but it's in pretty bad shape. It needs a lot of fixing up, maybe around 10% of the house's total cost, which is about $50,000. You take a mortgage from the bank for 20% of the house's price. So far, so good. Then, you start renovating. After all the hard work, suddenly the house is worth $700,000. People actually want to live there now. You go back to the bank, and they agree to give you a loan for 80% of the new value, which is $560,000. Out of that money, you pay back the first loan you took, which was $400,000. Then, subtract the $50,000 you spent on fixing the place up. What's left? A sweet profit of $110,000. And guess what? You still own a property that you can rent out, make more money, and build up your wealth over time. Plus, because you've got a mortgage, you don't have to pay as much in taxes. Number 3. Hedge funds. Hedge funds are like special clubs for rich folks. They're all about making rich people even richer, but they do it in some tricky ways. See, regular folks like us work hard to figure out which companies might grow and do well. We put our money into these companies hoping they'll get bigger and make us some profit. But hedge funds do the opposite. They try to make money when companies fail or go broke. Remember that time with GameStop? The internet took on these hedge funds, and they lost a whopping $13 billion. But how do these hedge funds make money when things go bad for a company? Let's break it down. Say you think a company's stock will go down, like Facebook. You know that Apple, the big phone company, will soon make it tough for apps like Facebook to track your online moves. So you call your broker, a person who handles stock stuff, and ask to borrow one Facebook stock, which costs $100. You sell it instantly in the market for $100. Boom! You've got $100 in your pocket, but you still owe your broker that one Facebook stock. If you're right, and Facebook stock drops to $70, you use that $100 to buy back one stock at the lower price. Then, you give it back to your broker and pocket the difference. In this case, $30. Nice, right? But here's the tricky part. What if you're wrong? What if the price goes up instead? You still have to give back that stock to your broker. If the price doubles, you have to buy it back for $200. The thing is, when you buy a stock and it goes up, you only lose the money you put in. But with shortcomings, that's what this strategy is called, your losses can keep growing as the price goes up. You might even lose a ton of money because there's technically no limit to how high a stock price can go. However, if you've got a team of experts helping you out, like 100 analysts, this strategy can make you loads of cash. It's a bit like walking on a tightrope. It sounds simple, but in reality, it's super tough and risky. It's a game where you can make big wins or suffer big losses depending on how well you predict things. Number 4. Forex. Forex is like a big market for trading currencies. It's how countries swap money when they do business with each other. Say you're in the US but need to pay people working for you in China. You'll need Chinese money, so you swap some of your dollars for Chinese yuan. This swapping happens in a place where anyone or any company can join in. The value of these currencies changes based on different things, like when the Fed, a big US money group, decides to do things like raise interest rates. This can make the dollar stronger or weaker compared to other currencies. What's cool and risky about Forex is that you can do something called leveraging. It's like getting to borrow extra money to trade. So, if you have $1,000, you can make trades as if you had $100,000. If you're good at guessing which currencies will go up or down, you could make a lot of money. Even a small increase, like 1%, can turn into a big deal because of the big amounts involved when leveraging. But remember, while you can make more money, you can also lose a lot more too. It's kind of like a superpower in trading, but you've got to be careful not to get in over your head. Number 5. Credit score. This is a crucial tool that successful businesses, companies, and entrepreneurs use in various ways, especially if they have a proven business model. Many businesses borrow money to finance purchase orders, and it's a common practice. It's important to shift away from thinking that all debts are bad. High-interest debts like credit card debts can be detrimental, but minimizing the risks of lending is key to securing a lower interest rate. Building a track record as a reliable borrower is essential. There are billions, if not trillions, of dollars in banks waiting to be borrowed. Even if there isn't physical money, banks can create funds. We discussed this in a previous video. It's crucial to understand that borrowing isn't inherently negative. It's about managing it wisely. There's a lot of money in banks waiting to be borrowed. Even if there isn't enough, banks can create more money. We've talked about this in another video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.